Let's get the latest on what is happening over there with the Duke of Sussex. My goodness, is the man of the moment today. He, of course, has turned up at the High Court. He's suing the Mirror's newspaper publishers for damage over press intrusion. He became the first prince to appear in 130 years in a courtroom. This comes as it's been revealed Harry is battling on another front as his US visa is set to be challenged in court over allegations, or his admission, in fact, of illegal drug use. That came out in his memoir, Spare, as you may remember. At the High Court for TalkTV, Oliver Whitfield-Miočić is there now. Ollie, is it done and dusted in terms of Prince Harry's evidence? Afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too. No, it's not done and dusted. That cross-examination is still ongoing. The Duke has just had a 10-minute break or so, but is now back in front of the judge, in front of everybody who's in front of Court 15, delivering his evidence and being cross-examined by Andrew Green Casey, who's representing Mirror Group newspapers. Earlier on this morning, the testimony was very calm. It was delivered in a soft-spoken way. At one point, Prince Harry almost joking with Andrew Green Casey, because every time he asks about a different article, he asks Prince Harry to go to a different bundle. And then he said, oh, it's like I'm doing a workout here. This afternoon, as pointed out by our royal editor, Sarah Hewson, it does seem like those exchanges are now getting a little bit tetchier. What Prince Harry is delivering is quite broad in his criticism of the press. It's no secret that he despises the British tabloid press. But is that going to be enough to convince and to prove to the judge that illegal information gathering at Mirror Group newspapers was widespread and habitual, as is being claimed by him and his fellow claimants? So what we're seeing from the lawyer who's representing the Mirror's titles is him really trying to poke holes in the testimony from Prince Harry. We've had a new bit of evidence to sort of prove that point. So earlier on, when he was asking about a birthday celebration that took place, Mr. Green suggested that it could have been that Prince Harry had given that information away in an earlier interview. So what makes him think it's the result of phone hacking, he asks. Prince Harry responds, I believe the article is connected to an invoice. Andrew Green, and so what? Prince Harry, and so it's suspicious. And it's that level of the balance of probabilities which the judge is going to be deciding this case on. Which side has got more evidence that it did or it did not happen? And these broad answers which Prince Harry is delivering hasn't really delivered a smoking gun at the moment, Ian.
And when do we get results of this? Well, how long does this go on for? And when does the judge say we're coming down on this side or the other?
Well, trial will take 7 weeks to conclude. There is tons of evidence to go through. There is the 33 newspaper articles, the various witnesses who are going to be called to testify. Then there will be the closing arguments. That will take at least a day. Then the judge has got to go through all of the things that he has heard over the past 7 weeks when it finally does reach that conclusion. And really at that point, it's how long is a piece of string? Sometimes a judge, when he's got a clear-cut answer, when he's seen the case and he pretty much knows which way it's going to go, can deliver a verdict in a week, 2 weeks max. But on a case like this, I would estimate it might take as long as a month or even 2 months before we get that final verdict on whether Mirror Group newspapers is responsible for phone hacking, for using private investigators, for this unlawful information gathering.
Ollie, thank you. Oliver Whitfield-Miočić, our man outside the High Court down there in London. You might think an autobiography in itself is an intrusion into your own life. I mean, there is something about being a high-profile figure where there will be a heavy and ongoing level of interest in your life. And this is not a one-way street. And I appreciate this is a specific court case. But when I hear celebrities bang on and whinge about this, and I see the way that the celebrity world works and functions and what it demands and the oxygen that it needs to even exist, I always find it a little bit rich to hear very powerful, privileged people banging on about the fact that somebody took their photograph outside of Wetherspoons, or, you know, somehow found a receipt in there. But, yeah, sorry, mate. You know, you are in a certain world. I'm not suggesting it's always comfortable. I'm not suggesting that every time that happens you're going to be smiling. But there is a kind of certain synergy. There's a sort of a cat and mouse thing that exists in that world between journalism and newspapers and the media and the rich, the famous and the ultra-privileged. And if the ultra-privileged are in places not playing ball and they're doing things against what they, you know, perhaps would purport to say publicly, then it's right that hypocrisy is cleared up. It's right that if information is being trickled from, you know, often the last place in the world some of these people would admit to, namely their own house or their friends, etc., which has happened in the past. You know, we're really to believe that that's not in the world we currently live in and reside in. Where there is a level of interest in some of these stories, are we not going to? Are we meant to not know that? If we discover that that evangelical preacher is sleeping with prostitutes, are we not meant to follow that character around and expose that? If we see duplicity from people who are members of the most privileged family, are we not going to want to discuss that? And again, look, there's going to be times when the media doesn't always cover itself in glory. Nobody would say otherwise on that. But it's not a one-way street. And I fear that narrative squeezing itself out there, that this is somehow, you know, bad guys versus good guys. Don't let anybody tell you that, because that is claptrap from start to finish.